Hi guys, welcome to the video. This is on emergency and disaster management. I'm just going to touch on a few things. It's a very short chapter in our book, chapter 23, but it is very important. All right. Now, I'll tell you a little story. I'm trying to do math in my head here real quick. I think it was 4 years ago, around almost 5 years ago. When COVID was winding down, I needed a job, or I had a job. I had a good job, and I had been given some pretty good promise that I could have stayed there and done really well. And in retrospect, I could have stayed there and done really well because the boss quit, and I could have taken over. However, I was just kind of spinning my wheels. I was like, what's going on? I feel like a big change. I was in Raleigh area, North Carolina. And my wife was like, I always want to go to Florida. So I said, let me look at it. Plunged in. There's a sushi chef needed in a resort in the Gulf Coast, on an island in the Gulf Coast of Florida. I did the Indeed thing. I got 20 minutes later, I got a phone call. Next day, I was flying down there for an interview. Really, really cool. I mean, it makes you feel pretty cool. That's our industry, right? I always like to have this little time so I can pump you guys up for the choices you made in your career. That's our industry. If you just get tired of something, I want to go to Hawaii. They'll fly you out there and get a job, right? I mean, not always, but it's out there, all right? So anyway, so I found myself in the Gulf Coast of Florida, all right? Now, the Gulf Coast of Florida, or even the East Coast of Florida, they know a thing or two about disaster management and preparation, right? And the reason why I'm using this example, because I was there a year, and it was a great place to work. Those of you who've ever had a class with me, I've used that place as an example a lot of times. It's a really, really, really good place. It really solidifies the choice of hospitality when you work in a place where everybody comes to have fun and to enjoy themselves, right? And it was great. And but after a year, my wife and I decided to move back to North Carolina. We moved back to Wilmington. And within, I think it was like 5 months, there was a major hurricane. The beautiful resort hotel that I worked at was literally gutted. All right, I saw pictures a few days afterwards. And I had people, I was in contact with, it told me it was at least going to be 2 or 3 years before they were back up and running. And the pictures just showed the walls. Everything inside, everything on the outside was gone. All right. So disasters happen. Okay. Now, here's the thing. That situation, right? A lot of the pain that we go through in life and in business, is somewhat self-inflicted, right? We either fail to plan, or we do a mistake that brings about the disaster or the emergency. But other times we can plan as well as we can, and you get faced with 2 years to reconstruct a luxury resort. All right. So I guess that saying that might give you the impression, well, then why bother? Well, there's more to planning than just preventing and batting down hatches and stuff. There's financial planning and things of that nature, having the correct insurance, making sure that you have contingency plans, you have ways to finance changes or finance fixing damages that's caused by emergencies and stuff like that. So there's a lot to it, and it's very, very important that you take it seriously. And quite frankly, other than the things that are mandated by law, such as like evacuation plans in hotel rooms and exit signs and stuff like that, other than those things that are mandatory, emergency planning can take a back door, because it's like, okay, it's just like anything else. You've heard me say this a million times. Those of you who have been in more than one class, you probably only heard about 20 times in this class. But things are going well, you plan on doing something, Yes, your heart's in the right place. We're going to do this plan. We're going to create a really inclusive disaster plan, and then I'm going to put down 2 hours to work on it today, and 12 top walks in, and your plans go out the window. We live in a very dynamic, or we work in a very dynamic industry. Things are always happening, and we like for things to happen because things happening means more money, right? But you have to try to find the time to do some planning and to do some risk analysis, right? What are my risks, right? So I have known people that have spent a lot of time working on plans for risks that aren't really all that significant, right? They maybe good, maybe bad, they have in their mind, I want to have every contingency, every bad thing that could possibly happen, I want to plan for it. Now, I'm coming from the military. When we used to do plans for operations, it was our job to try to figure out anything that could happen to go wrong and what we were going to do to fix it. However, you only have so much time, right? You only have so much resources as a manager or an owner of a business. So you want to prioritize, all right? So you want to prioritize those things that are highly likely that they're going to happen, and if they're highly likely they're going to happen, they're going to cause the most damage. So those of you who have the book, the hard copy of the book, and different versions have different pages, but in chapter 23 on page 425, around there, you're going to see something called a risk assessment matrix, and that's basically just putting things into categorizing things, and you're basically having four sectors, right? So you have columns of likelihood is going to have the highly likely one column, low likelihood in another column, and then you're going to have rows, which is severity if it occurs, highly severe and low severe. So those things that are highly likely and highly severe, that is where you want to prioritize. It's likely that this is going to happen, and if it happens, it's going to be devastating. So those are the things you want to spend your time planning for. Things that are highly likely with low or sometimes even insignificant severity, you may or may not spend some time, but they're going to be on the back burner over the high, right? Probably the next one you want to do is probably going to be your high severity and low likelihood, because here's the thing. We're in the people business. If we have a disaster and we're not properly planned for it, we lose our business we lose our facility, the ability to operate for a month, 2 months, 3 months, where we're be building. That's bad, okay? But if somebody dies and it has been proven in court that we failed to act reasonably, that's really bad, all right? First off, in business, we oftentimes think about the liability when somebody gets hurt or killed, right? What we really need to do, first and foremost, is understand they're human beings, all right? And we don't want anybody hurt or killed on our watch. We just don't want it, all right? Nobody wants that on their conscience. If you're the type of person that is worried about the liability over that, and something happens and all you're worried about liability, well, then something's going on in your own spirit. Because I can tell you, any human being, most human beings, if they can look back and see that something they could have done better would prevent a life from being extinguished, and they didn't do it, that's hard. That's hard for you to take in and on yourself, and nobody wants to be there. Now, sometimes it happens, and we're going to beat ourselves up anyway. But the bottom line is, we never want to be responsible for somebody perishing, okay, or being seriously hurt. And you never want to be responsible for that. And then, of course, there is the legal issue. And sometimes people can be just slightly hurt or whatever, and there's great legal issues that we have to deal with. So protect yourself, protect your own peace of mind, that you're not going to hurt anybody or kill anybody. Protect your business from lawsuits, and work on those things that are highly likely and high severity, and then low likely but high severity. Well, if it's like low likely to the point where I have to plan for a snowstorm and a blizzard in Sanibel, Florida, no, all right. But you understand where I'm getting at, right? So look at that stuff and make sure you do those plans. Now, other than that, there's a lot of really good stuff in this chapter about what do we do, what are we planning for, how do we plan, what are the things we do. It even goes into like handling trees and during blowdowns and stuff like that. You can read all that. It's a lot of good information. But the bottom line is we need to take it seriously, all right? At the beginning of the month, I think it was August of 2022, my old GM, very nice lady, she was very good to me, didn't wake up in the beginning of the month one morning and say, oh, this is the month that my entire operation is going to be gutted for 2 years. She didn't do that, right? However, it was on the back of her mind, because she was in Florida, that anytime we go into a hurricane season, things could happen. Now, destroying the building and having to that's terrible. But having planned for that, that place was able to get their guests out of there, to close down in enough time, understand the severity of what they were facing, work with local authorities, get their people evacuated, so nobody was killed in that restaurant or in that resort. And that is a blessing. Okay? So read the chapter, take the quiz. Actually, there is no quiz on this one, but it's part of your final exam. So this is my last video, and I gotta tell you, the 23 chapters in 10 weeks was something, right? And most of you did pretty good, and those of you who didn't, you did what you can, and we're working together to approach the finish line as well as possible. And I appreciate it. I appreciate all the effort. I appreciate those of you who reached out to me. I really appreciate those who have let me know when something was wrong in a test or something wasn't published when I thought it was. There's a lot of moving parts, and there's no excuse, but there's a lot of moving parts to Canvas, and I make mistakes just like anybody. So I appreciate it when you let me know as soon as possible. All right. For those of you who are winding down, and I probably won't see you face to face, good luck to you in your future. For those of you who are just beginning this, and I'm going to see you face to face for the first time, maybe this upcoming semester, I look forward to it. Those of you who have had me before face to face and have had me again, I still look forward to that. We have a lot of fun in our classroom time, so finish up summer well. Finish well is always something I like to encourage you. Finish well. There is, in this class, right now there's one extra credit opportunity. I've created a module with extra credit assignments. I'm finishing up all my classes. As I have more time, I'm going to hopefully pop some more opportunities in there. But those of you who are not where you want to be, because you might have missed some assignments, don't just think you're going to make it up with the extra credit, because the extra credit is going to help you, all right, for the points that you missed for being late, but they're not going to be good enough for full-on replacements for those things. I did that on purpose, okay, because I want you to do all the assignments. So look at the assignments that you're missing, do those, understand that you might only get 65%, because that's the highest you can get if you're more than 2 weeks late. It might be less than 65 because that's the top. However, it's better than a 0. All right, and make sure that yes, you're looking at that, but don't go too far into those where you miss the things that are right now in front of you and not past due. Do those first, because that's gonna affect your grades the best, right? So finish well, and I will see you next semester.